Hi, this is Pamela Riemenschneider for Blue Book Services, and I have Greg Johnson here, our Director of Media Development, and this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. Greg, I see you're back in the office now. How was PMA Food Service?
Yeah, I am back in the office, so I don't need these.
Oh.
It was nice to call in from the beach, but the event was very good. There's some years where they talk about trends and they're so far out there, it's like in the ridiculous land. And then this year, the trends were really realistic, and I thought it was cool in some of the workshop stuff, talking about the challenges that fresh produce has. One of my favorite examples was in a trend workshop where the speaker talked about how food delivery is really being driven by a 35 and under set. And they have this expectation that when you get food delivered, you'll have the same eating experience as you do in the restaurant, despite the fact that in a restaurant, they cook it and bring it to your table within a minute. And you're talking 45 to 60 minutes for someone to get your food to your house. And she said it was unrealistic, which is an understatement.
Really?
But they do, they expect that. And one of the examples she gave is taco companies, when they figured out that shredded lettuce ends up pretty bad after about an hour in transit. But if they replace that with shredded cabbage, the experience is not that different from an eating level, but it looks and feels so much better.
And I'm sitting here listening to you tell me all about this, and I'm like, I had never even thought about it because you know what? I'm over 35, and I mean, I won't even pay to have a pizza delivered. So, I mean, I'll hop in my car and go get it. So.
Yeah, me too. And heck, I do take and bake more than any other kind.
Oh, yeah. Well, I do live within check-in ability of Costco. So Costco's Take and Bake is probably like one of the finest out there. So yeah, I never even really would have thought about the challenges of food service, especially with fresh produce, trying to deliver a tasty product that meets expectations. Because these folks that are getting the delivery are also the rampant internet commenters and reviewers. So if they have a bad experience, the first thing they do is probably go on there and go, I hated this.
Right.
And the restaurant does is say, here's another free meal. And it's like this perpetual cycle of, I didn't like this, try it again. And eventually they're not going to try it again. So yeah, really interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Well, one of the other challenges too is whether or not to deliver a deconstructed meal, like tacos in containers that keeps them in the appropriate temperature. But of course, the problem with that is you have extra packaging, and someone wants a food service meal where someone else does all the work. Mm-hmm. If I have it delivered and I have to put it together, like, well, I'm doing some of the work now. What did I pay extra for? Well, one of our top stories of the week was a story that Richard Smoley did on how the avocado market is so expensive that people are turning to crime involving avocados. And speaking of crimes, you just did a video where you made guacamole without avocados. And what I got as a viewer of that, the moral of the story is don't dare do avocado-less guacamole, or you will anger your diners. Is that your message?
Yeah, pretty much. So what I really got out of Richard's excellent, kind of tongue-in-cheek article is some of this. The crime against avocados is almost as bad as the crime going on in avocados. It's getting people starting to look at extreme measures. And the one thing that I didn't do with my crimes against avocados, fake guacamole, imposter guac, is I didn't do a cost analysis of how much it cost me to make some of those compared to what it costs to actually use regular avocados. But what I did notice is that most of those imposter guacs didn't oxidize. And I think that's one of the things that some people are looking at is that, I can make this out of canned peas, which was the worst offender, according to my taste testers. According to me, I'm like one of 12 people in the United States that likes canned peas. It wasn't that bad. And honestly, if they had cut it half and half with avocado, I really don't think a lot of people would have noticed that it was made with peas. But I'm
skeptical.
Yeah, you're skeptical, and my husband would be filing for divorce if I actually tried to do
Yeah,
that.
I'm with Brian. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You would be a
But
terrible person.
So a can of peas is 78 cents. A bag of peas from a pound of peas from the freezer is like 78 cents to 99 cents. And a mame is even more expensive. It's not really that less expensive. It's just the complication of avocados. So I could see how that is turning some people into the imposter guac, especially in some of the places, especially the canned peas one was the one that I associated with school food service. And that's actually the true crime, I really think, is trying to feed kids guacamole. That, no, don't do it. They can tell the difference, and they will call you on it, as you saw in my video.
Yes. And they will be lifelong haters of that. They might even hate guacamole because of that.
Yeah. And do you want to do that? No, nobody wants to do that. Now, the one that actually was an inspiration for a lot of the talk that's going on right now is the guacamole that's made from gray squash or calabacita or whatever. It actually tasted more like salsa verde to most of my tasters, and it wasn't that heinous. It was tasty. We liked it. It just, you couldn't call it guacamole.
So it's just salsa, basically.
Yeah, it was salsa that was green and whipped, and so it looked kind of like guacamole. So if you were having a taco at a food truck and they didn't have any guac that day and you got that sauce instead, you wouldn't be mad.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad as long as they didn't call it guacamole.
Yeah, just don't call it guacamole because it's an imposter. So we also had some news today, a lot of retail roundup going on. A couple of things that I noticed, Sprouts Farmers Market kind of had a bummer of a quarter, but they're going through a lot of transition. If a lot of us who have been watching from the outside here, we've got the CEO left back in December. We have a new CEO. The acting CEO is leaving, and now the president, Jim Nielsen, is leaving the company. And here in produce, we also saw that Chad Miller has left the company. And it's been a while, but I saw him at the Organic Produce Summit. He's still hanging around produce, so he'll be around here somewhere, I'm sure. But they're pretty optimistic, and they're in a big transition period with all those leadership changes. So it's a company to definitely watch. And then I saw another one. Kroger actually named a division president, the Nashville division president. And what I thought was really interesting is that normally when we're watching these Kroger news releases, it's people who bebop around the company. They usually move their executives from division to division and get them experience. Then they like kind of bring them back into the mothership in Cincinnati. Well, this division president actually came from Walmart. And she had spent 30 years at Walmart, most recently leading a Dallas division. And if you know anything about Walmart, you know that Dallas is their hub for innovation and technology. And so it's a really interesting move for Kroger. So that's another one to watch as well.
Yeah, they're one of those companies that's pretty tight-lipped on their strategy also. So you do have to do a little bit of reading into that.
Soapys! Did you see the Soapys news? Every store is getting rid of plastic bags.
So that's like for next year?
In 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months. That's like when they announce these initiatives, like when Trader Joe's announced their initiative, it was, oh, we're backing off on plastic, we're trying to cut back, and then it's been a state by state thing. It hasn't been a retailer that's actually said we're cutting this out. Wegmans is doing it in New York, but it's ahead of a regulation. Soapys is doing it in 6 months, starting with produce. They were talking about the taking clamshells out of snacking tomatoes, and then reusable bags and produce. They're introducing those, and then the grocery sacks are going to be gone by the end of January. Wow. That's a pretty big initiative for a nationwide retailer.
Not all, just plastic, right?
Just plastic, yeah. So, but just for the logistics of that, to do that nationwide is pretty cool. So we'll see how that goes. That's another one to watch. For now, that's it for the week in review from the Produce Reporter newsletter. If you are not getting our newsletter, go to producebluebook.com and sign up. Hey, did you go to the cheese stuff at food service?
I saw that it was there, but I kept it professional.
Dang it. Oh, See, because they got the idea from South by Southwest with the Cheeselandia thing. Remember the cheese everywhere?
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, I know. Actually, I have some cheese right here. I was working on for a snack. I'm kind of jealous that you didn't. You first of all, you were there and you didn't go to the cheese, and second of all, that they had the cheese without me. I mean, cheese is
It
kind of my
wasn't
thing.
Cheeselandia. It was just a corner of the expo, and they had some nice pairings.
Yeah, but nice pairings, produce and cheese. It's like match made in heaven.
It means it's on a good trajectory where, first we were building alcohol into the trade show experience. Now we're bringing culinary a little more
Yes, more
outside of
culinary,
just
more
produce.
snacks.